Well, I was just about ready to pack up. Yeah, you don't get rid of me that easily. I was watching the sunset and it just didn't seem to be happening. There was a thick, let's just see if I can turn you around. There was a thick band of cloud over here. You can still see the remains of it up here. And over this side was beginning to colour slightly, but nothing was happening here. And I was just at the point of saying, I think I'll go home. I'd had tea, had a drink of hot chocolate, and I was just sat watching the world go by. Unbelievable. There's been a group of kids up here, teenagers, having a barbecue, and they've disappeared off over the other side, and I've just noticed there's a bench. I don't know if you'll be able to make it out, but they've left the bloody fire going. I'll go and have a look in a minute. Anyway, yes, I was just about to pack up when all of a sudden said bank of cloud started glowing pinks and purples, really soft pastel colours. So I grabbed the camera, legged it down to the side of the lake. The wind has died off exactly as the weather report said it was going to, and got some lovely reflections. Did a couple of compositions. I didn't have time to talk to you. It was just grab the camera, set up and fire before the light disappeared. I had no idea how long it was going to hang around for. Oh, interesting. And I'm now going to go and see if that bloody fire is going to go out, or we're going to have fires up, because it is surprisingly dry considering how much rain we've had recently. Excuse me, I've only just woken up. Well, I was heading to the coast this morning. I knew that the sun wasn't necessarily going to put a lot of colour over on the coast, but I really didn't fancy battling the midges again this morning. And as I'm driving down the road, the sky to my left just began to light up, and there's a little bit of mist lying over the valleys. And I remembered that I'd driven over a river on the way to the coast. So I put my foot down a bit, found the river, jumped out, popped the 17-55 on, reverse grad, that's all I needed. And you can just see the remains of it there. It was all pinks and reds and magentas. It was absolutely beautiful. And that's the river. Oh, God. Now in this direction, which is where the coast is, there's just a little bit of colour just coming up there, but nothing like this. If you hang on a sec, I'll just try and flip this round and see if I can show you what I've got. Essentially, yeah, it's a little bit too bright to see properly on the back of the camera, but we have a little bit of mist laying over here. You can see it slightly better there. As I say, it all looks blown out. Lovely layer of mist coming along here, and a little bit of mist also on the water. And it was a complete guess as to what my settings should be. I was at f11. I dropped the ISO back down to 100. And I started off, I thought, 2.5 seconds will be somewhere around right. And that was a little bit blown out. So I dropped it down to 2 seconds. And that was absolutely spot on. I'm just running through to check. But then as we've gone on, and it's happened so quickly, in the space of a minute and a half, I went from 2 seconds down to 1.3 seconds, down to a second. Oh. So that's a fabulous start to the morning. I have no idea what this river's called. I'll have to have a look at it on the map. It's between Artog, and Russell Fane? I'll stick something up here. because I'm sure that's not the right pronunciation. And it's just literally just sunrise. It's 5 to 5. But oh God, yeah, what a morning. That was absolutely wonderful. Oh yes, and a little update, I managed to put the fire out last night. It wasn't even contained. Those of you who watched the last video will know I was stood at the top of Cregannon Lakes, and 4 kids had a little campfire going, and I thought it was one in a tray, but it wasn't. It was made up of wood just on the floor. So there's lovely scorch marks there now. So I spent half an hour running up and down the hill to the lake, filling a bottle up with water, going back up and trying to douse it out. Some proper little scratters about sometimes, really annoys me. And they were locals, which is even more infuriating. They should know the beauty of where they are. And it's National Trust property, and I can't imagine those guys would be too happy. End of rant. So I say you won't pick up. There is some very light mist coming up down here. Oh, so seeing as that's been such a good start, I may now nip back up to Cregannon Lakes, or I may just head onto the coast. There's not much light over the coast. You can see it's just kind of blanket cloud. Oh, that's kicked off today absolutely superbly. That's 2 mornings and 2 sunrises. I'm doing really well. So the colour is now fading. It's just going back to that weak, watery, yellowy. So I'm going to disappear. Catch up with you later. Is looking less and less likely today. The sunrise this morning was absolutely out of this world. So I set off to go to the beach. Thought, what could be finer? Park up, have breakfast, overlooking the sea. And then I saw a sign for the waterfalls. So I thought, well, it'd be rude not to while I was here. As I say, this is the first of, I believe, a series of 3, maybe more falls. But I'm just going to stick with this one. And I've found myself in a bit of a conundrum. You can see, I can't talk to you while I'm up there because the noise of that rushing is so loud. I put the polarizer on, and with it turned off to remove all the reflections, it looks nice, but then when I turn it on, so I turn it off, to bring the reflections back, I think it actually looks better. It adds more depth. There's more shadows. But I'll post both up and you can see what you think. The obvious composition is the one I've gone for, which is quite close up with just the waterfall. There's some lovely rocks here and another bit of a rock over there. Really vibrant green moss. There's a couple of other compositions that I'm going to try. But as I say, it's quite tricky not being able to talk while I'm doing it. And the other factor is the rocks are so damn slippy. I could end up on my backside in the water trying to talk and take photos. So I think after this, it is a case of go back to campsite, have breakfast, and then decide what I'm doing. The only slight drawback with this is there's a viewing platform here, and it kind of encroaches in the images. I think I've managed to cut it out of the ones that I've done. And I've tried up on the viewing platform to take a shot, but you don't get the nice green, you don't get the effect of the water hitting the floor. The compositions I did, I went quite low, and then I've done one slightly taller. So, but it's, as I say, the best of the light has gone. The sky is looking a bit bland, so I thought, well, as there's a waterfall on my way, I might as well come have a look. And I'm glad I did.